Information and Broadcasting Minister has apprised you about some of the major decisions that have been taken by the Cabinet and the CCA today.
We are not able to hear you.
Have patience, you'll hear me. Wait. Well, I'll first come to the decisions pertaining to the foreign direct investments. The Cabinet, as you would recall, on the 24th of November 2011, had taken two decisions. One was to allow 100% FDI in single brand retail, and second, 51% in multi-brand retail trading with certain conditionalities. Thereafter, there were reservations and opposition both, and on the 7th of December 2011, the then Finance Minister and the Leader of the House informed the Parliament that the Cabinet has taken a decision to suspend the implementation. That means the notification was paused for further consultations with the objective of creating a broad consensus. On single brand, the Cabinet has today taken the decision. Of course, 100% FDI in single brand has been notified. The objective of the policy clearly was to attract investment, create domestic manufacturing facilities and employment. There was some clarity required because these are luxury brands. Until the new policy, FDI in single brand was permitted, but up to 51% without any conditions. In November, the 100% FDI, when it was allowed, the condition of 30% sourcing from MSMEs as per our definition was put in. The large number of applications which have been received by global retailers in single brand who have been sourcing from India to a large extent, when we look at some of the companies sourcing from our handloom clusters, handicraft clusters, the glass and the brassware clusters. But at the same time, it was felt that more clarity was required, both on the brand owning as well as the 30% mandatory condition. It has now been decided that the earlier description that product to be sold should be of single brand only remains. Product to be sold under the same brand internationally, that is, product should be sold under the same brand in one or more countries other than India, there is no change. The single brand product retail trading would cover only products which are branded during manufacturing. The condition remains. The foreign investor should be the owner of the brand. Now that condition has been amended, that only one resident entity, whether owner of the brand or otherwise, shall be permitted to undertake single brand product retail trading in the country for the specific brand through a legally tenable agreement. This is because many companies have the structures, either through a franchisee or a legal agreement, or the holding structures of the companies where the mother company may not be the owner of the brand, but one of the group companies may be the owner of the brand. And that was coming in the way of approvals for the single brand FDI proposals which were received by the ministry. Therefore, we have brought this clarity to facilitate investments into this country. Now, with regard to the 30% condition, I would like to clarify here that the earlier policy was only retailing. That's the products which were made outside India were brought into India on payment of a particular percentage of customs duty and thereafter retailed in India at a much higher price than what it would be retailed in the countries of manufacture or otherwise. Now the new policy of 100% would require FDI investments into India, not pure retailing, so that manufacturing facilities are set up in India by global brands. Some of these are luxury brands whether these are the watchmakers or the household appliances, textiles, other sectors like IKEA, Tesco's, Carrefour's. IKEA is already doing sourcing of 1 billion euros from India. Marks & Spencer has been doing sourcing of 700 million out of India. Within the manufacturing facilities in India, made in India, that is what was more important. Therefore now, what we are saying, that, and the Cabinet has approved, in respect of proposals involving FDI, beyond 51%, sourcing of 30% of the value of goods purchased will be done from India, preferably from MSMEs. Village and cottage industries, artisans and craftsmen in all sectors. And the quantum of domestic sourcing will be self-certified by the company to be checked by statutory auditors from the duly certified accounts which the companies will be required to maintain. The further details of this policy, these two amendments, are there in a press note which will be circulated.
Explain what you mean by preferably.
Preferably means that it is the 30% of the sourcing is mandatory from India. Now there are cases where exactly the same definition requirements may not be met from what we describe as MSME. In the industrialized countries, in the developed countries, the definition is different when it comes to investments. There's another reason behind this decision, that if a company qualifies to be an MSME today, and a global retailer, some of which I have named, sources from them, the very next year they will be disqualified as a MSME because their volume and value will increase manifold. This has been experienced. So it is not only the investors. We have examined it carefully. We have talked also to the industry. We have talked to the SMEs. And after stakeholders' consultations, this clarity has been brought about. We had indicated earlier that we have adopted a policy, but for the implementation, if clarity is required, because this was the first time India did it, we will bring about clarity so that the policy objective of attracting investment and manufacturing and job creation in India are fully met. That is the sole consideration behind this decision of the Cabinet. The second Cabinet decision is on the FDI in multi-brand retail trading, which was paused on the 7th of December. Thereafter, intense stakeholder consultations followed, coordinated by the Ministry of Food and Consumer Affairs and by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And those who were consulted included farmers' federations, associations, consumer federations, associations, civil society organizations, apex chambers, national chambers and regional chambers of commerce and industry, SMEs, state governments. All the views were ascertained, elicited. I had personally written to every chief minister of the country, spoken to almost all of them. There are states which received the proposals very well. There are states which expressed reservations, as had happened in November last year. The response has been mixed one. And I would like to add that when a major policy initiative is taken, that's how the responses come in. Consensus building has been a sincere endeavor of the UPA government, and that's what we sought to do through a process which was inclusive, which was transparent, which was democratic. There are large states, agrarian states, and states which have huge strengths in horticulture, which supported and sought implementation of the policy. There are states, including the states of Odisha, Bihar, and the Chief Minister of West Bengal, who had their reservations on this matter. Thereafter, considering various aspects. A, the fact that India is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world, and the post-harvest management requires investment and infrastructure. Our post-harvest losses are high. 2, in perishables, fruits and vegetables, again we are the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables, with the production of both put together in the range of 225 to 235 million tons. But the post-harvest losses, by conservative estimates, are 35 to 40%, in some cases higher than 40%. Therefore, the imperative to have investment and an integrated infrastructure, cold chain, modern technologies in sorting, in processing, were felt necessary. Equally important is remunerative prices for the farmers, which the Farmers Federation felt if the sourcing is done directly, what perishes if it is kept in a cold storage or is processed and reaches markets in India or globally, it would benefit them enormously. Thirdly, it will generate large number of jobs in rural India for our young men and women. Equally important was the view of the consumers' organizations, because the realization, price realization, as per the World Bank reports by Indian farmer, is barely 12 to 14% of the price realization otherwise elsewhere. But this is exactly what a farmer gets compared to what the consumer ends up paying. It's a multiple of minimum 3, if not 5 times. This policy, therefore, is an enabling policy provision, but will address that issue. We have certain conditionalities, unlike other countries, including comparable economies in Asia and emerging economies, in Africa and South Americas, where the FDI and multi-brand retail was permitted without any conditionalities, including in China, Thailand, Indonesia, South Africa, Brazil, and many more. We have an Indian imprint, an Indian signature to this policy, where minimum investment has to be $100 million US. 50% of this investment has to be in the rural area for the creation of infrastructure. Now in the front end, naturally in the urban areas, where the front end is opened, that will be the creation of jobs and opportunities. But this being an enabling policy provision, this gives equal right to every state of the Union of India. We have respected the spirit of the Indian Constitution, recognizing the right of the states who want to create the infrastructure and implement it, also respecting the rights of other states, their prerogative and their discretion to take their own decisions and make their own determinations. Therefore, the implementation has been left entirely to the decision and discretion of the states of the Union. It is in public domain, the states which have asked for it, the states of Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Haryana, Delhi, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Manipur, Jammu Kashmir, and few union territories. As you will see that some of these states are hill states with horticulture strengths, fruit growing states. Therefore, the condition which applies to the rest of the country, that these front end can be opened only in cities with a population of 1 million or above. For the small hill states who have asked for this policy for the betterment of their fruit growers and farmers, the determination of the larger city shall be made by the state governments concerned. The rest of the conditions which were there in the policy, including mandatory 30% sourcing from MSMEs, remain unchanged in multi-brand retail trade. Now, Cabinet has also taken decisions, CCA. One is to allow the existing FDI policy which we have in the aviation sector allowed FDI up to 49%. It was allowed for the non-scheduled operators also, but not for the scheduled operators for the foreign airlines. So the distinction was it was allowed for the FDI was allowed in the aviation sector, but foreign airlines as strategic partners were not allowed to invest. However, in the non-scheduled operations, including cargo, helicopter services, FDI even up to 100% was permitted. That has been changed after reviewing it carefully and realizing that the earlier policy did not bring in FDI to the extent, only little over 400 million in 12 years. Reason being that this is a sector which is prone to ups and downs and is risk prone. Therefore, strategic investors will come in when they have a stake. 49% FDI has been cleared today in the civil aviation sector also. The rules will be framed by the Ministry of Civil Aviation, which will clearly define the Indian ownership, including the CEO and the MD of the company and 2/3 of the directors. The details will be made available to you through the press note. Another important decision which has been referred to is the liberalization and rationalization of the policy on FDI in the broadcasting sector. The TRAI had earlier recommended different foreign investments FI limits for companies engaged in providing carriage and content. The decision taken today is only for carriage services. There has been a convergence of technologies in the broadcasting and telecom sectors. Keeping in view this convergence in these two sectors, uniformity has been proposed in respect of companies providing carriage services except cable services. For the same reason, uniformity is necessary in the method of calculation of foreign direct investment in companies operating in telecom and broadcasting sectors. Government, after review, has liberalized the policy on FDI for companies operating in the broadcasting as below. Teleports, that is setting up of linking, uplinking, hubs, teleports, direct-to-home DTH, cable networks, multi-system operators operating at national, state or district level, and undertaking upgradation of networks towards digitalization and addressability. Currently, FDI up to 49% was permitted in these activities. After today's decision, FDI up to 74% has been permitted. Up to 49% FDI will be under automatic route. Beyond 49% and up to 74%, it will be permitted under the government approval route, that is the FIPB. The mobile TV, there is no specific dispensation in the FDI policy for mobile TV. It has now been decided to permit foreign investment up to 74% with the proviso that, same as the previous one, up to 49% under automatic route, beyond 49 and up to 74 under the government approval route. For the head end in the sky hits broadcasting services, the existing limit of 74% automatic route up to 49 and beyond by government approval continues. In respect of cable networks, the existing limit of 49% FDI under the automatic route shall continue. Similarly, for uplinking of news and current affairs, TV channels, FM radio, the existing limit of 26% FDI under the government route would continue for uplinking of non-news and current affairs channels, TV channels, downlinking of TV channels. The existing policy of 100% FDI through government route would continue. Lastly, on FDI, the government, CCA, has approved a policy on foreign investment in power exchanges. These are like commodity exchanges. There are only two power exchanges that have so far been established in India. FDI has so far been permitted in securities market, in infrastructure companies, namely stock exchanges, depositories and clearing corporations in compliance with the SEBI regulations.